And great. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us for tonight's installment of our CF Illinois Town Hall series, our first evening call hosted by our Grampians, our awesome Grampians of the Greater Illinois Chicago chapter. So thank you all for putting this together and bringing so many folks to the table tonight. As I mentioned, tonight's call is being recorded for future viewing. So please keep your lines muted throughout the presentation, and we will have time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. Let's see. If you have questions throughout the presentation, please use the chat feature to enter any questions, and we'll be monitoring that throughout the call, and we'll do our best to get to everybody's questions at the end. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Hajin Moon, the operation manager for CF Foundation Compass. Hajin has been with the foundation about 8 years, has a wealth of knowledge and experience in helping our families through our Compass program. So I'll turn it over to you, Hajin, to get us started. And if you want to give us any more information on your experience here with the foundation, feel free to chime in and share that.
Thank you, David. It is my pleasure to join your town hall tonight. Let me advance this slide. My name is Hajin, and I'm one of the 2 operations managers with the Compass team, and I have been with the foundation about 8 years. So I've seen our programs grow and our team getting bigger, and I have a pleasure to work with brilliant case managers on the team. So I can't wait to tell all of you all about our team. So, and then just like David mentioned, we will have some Q&A session at the end of the presentation, and please feel free to ask me if you have any additional questions, or feel free to stop me in the middle as well if you need some clarifying information as well. So let's get started. So I'd like to introduce Compass program. Compass is a team of case managers who advocate for CF community, and we assist with helping with services to help navigate insurance, financial, legal, and other complex issues that comes with having CF. And I would like to introduce our team. We currently have 14 case managers, and 3 of them have started as new in May, and we actually have 1 person starting next Monday. So our team is definitely growing, and we are honored to welcome new case managers on the team. And I'm happy to share that we recently hired one of the bilingual case managers too. So Ruth on the team got hired in May, and she's fluent in Spanish and English, so we can serve the Spanish-speaking community a little better. So currently we have 3 bilingual case managers on the team who can translate and provide full services in Spanish. And Ozzy Cater is our director for Compass program, and Aaron and myself are 2 operations managers on the team. And I currently oversee the West and the Central region, and Aaron oversees the East region. So we divided the map in half. And we have 2 senior specialists on the team who helps with training and programmatic needs. I wanted to share a little bit about how we are helping people in Illinois. So we worked on 185 cases in 2019, and last year it was about 103 cases. And we're just getting into our busiest season. So don't let the 77 number fool you just yet, because usually open enrollment time, November and December are the busiest times for the team. And in Illinois, according to 2019 registry data, we have about 1,080 people with CF living in the state. And there has been some misconception about who's eligible to call Compass. Our phone lines and emails are open to anybody. So our services are available to, of course, people with CF, including those that are pre and post lung transplant. And we get the most phone calls from the parents of child with CF, and we assist caregivers and providers as well. And Compass is open to anyone without any eligibility criteria. So we don't require for that person to be insured, or there's no income guideline. And you don't even have to be going to one of the CF care centers to call us. And all our services are free and confidential. And we try very hard to keep all the records and respect your privacy very safely. There are multiple ways to contact us. We have a hotline that's available from Monday through Friday and Thursday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we're one of the lucky ones to have short Fridays. So our hotline is open from 9 to 3 p.m. on Fridays. And our email, we're getting quite a bit of volume through email as well. And if you email our Compass inbox, then we have designated agents who can get back to you within 2 business days. And recently, we updated our online service request through our website. So there's an easier way if Chicago isn't too bad because it's only 1 hour difference, but if someone's job doesn't allow them to call during the working hours, or it's hard to get a hold of over the phone, then they can always email or submit a request through our website. Then it will get processed and someone will get back to them at their preferred method of communication.
Hajin, I have one quick question. Are all of our Compass case managers located in Maryland, or are they spread out around the country for these time zone differences?
Yeah, we are sort of all over the place. So we have case managers who's basing out of Maryland. We also have a team in Texas, Colorado, and we recently hired someone fully remotely in Portland, Oregon. And one of your own, Colleen from Chicago chapter, joined the Compass team. So we have a case manager in Chicago as well. And then for the Eastern region, we have someone in New York, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. So we are very spread out.
Awesome, thank you.
And I would like to touch on the areas that we help people and families with CF. And I would say our bread and butter is dealing with insurance issues. So one thing we fully understand is how complicated insurance is. So we can definitely understand how confusing the terms are, and it's so easy to get something overlooked. So a lot of surprises happen when a big bill comes in. Um, First thing we would do is making sure we'll contact insurance and either the hospital or the provider's billing office to make sure it got billed correctly. A lot of times just it's a simple admin issue, so it can get rebuilt and the amount can get reduced. And if it's correctly billed, then we'll look for financial assistance to see if there are help out there. And a lot of times when people have more than one insurance, they assume it's more insurance is the better, but usually it's the opposite. So when there's more than one insurance in place, a lot of times both of them will fight not to cover and hoping the other insurance companies will pick that up. So there's lots of issues with coordinating benefits, especially it's to employer plans or to commercial plans. It's a very common issue that we see. Then we'll check for all the rules behind it and making sure which one is supposed to be primary and then the other one is supposed to be covering secondary. And you all probably are familiar how many prescriptions you have to keep up every single month to make sure it gets delivered on time and you're not running out for any medications. And a lot of times you have to deal with the local retail pharmacy, mail order pharmacy, and specialty pharmacy. And it's just a hassle. And through insurance, we can look into getting some exceptions to consolidate those prescriptions on one pharmacy when possible. And of course, when there are amazing therapists out there, if it's not covered by the insurance, it's definitely a big problem. And we usually work very closely with the providers who's prescribing those medications to go through the prior authorizations, and if appeal is needed, we can facilitate that to make sure there's solid coverage for medications. And when someone is going through transitions where, like, if they're moving somewhere else or simply from going pediatric programs to adult program, provider transitions happen a lot, and we can always make sure all the providers, new providers, are accepted by the insurance, and we can help getting the estimate. And simply, insurance is very confusing to understand. So we encourage people to call us if you're unsure how your insurance is covering, so you can prepare for any upcoming procedures or therapies to make sure you have a good understanding of your coverage. And we are just getting into our busiest season of open enrollment, but this year had been truly unique mainly because of COVID-19. A lot of rules were loosened a little bit so that people can pick up insurance throughout the year. So we had people calling throughout the year to get help with evaluating insurance options. So we helped about 500 people last year just during open enrollment, but my guess is that number will be much higher this year because we've been pretty much having open enrollment the whole year of 2021. But during open enrollment, we can help people evaluate all possible options. So we not only focus on what the person is calling for, but we are making sure to evaluate every possible option that this person is eligible for. So some people, for example, might be eligible for some state programs that they're not aware of, or sometimes there are like supplement options and secondary options possible as well. So we'll evaluate all possible options. Usually we can help narrowing down all those choices to top 2 or 3 plans after verifying every single medication's coverage and verifying providers coverage. So we can help people to make informed decisions on their own. And we also have a lot of self-help tools on our website as well. So through our website, there's great video series called Navigating CF, and one of the topics is choosing insurance plan. So hopefully, once we help someone and explain and expand their knowledge on how insurance work, maybe they can follow the step-by-step instructions from these tools and evaluate themselves the following year. So usually between mid-October through mid-December are open enrollment season, and employer sponsored plans can have different open enrollment time. But if they call us, we can narrow down the choices. I've seen one company offering like 32 different types of plan in like 6 different insurance companies. So it's immediately overwhelming. We don't know what to look for and even where to begin. So our case managers are here to do all the legwork and researching so that time can be saved as well. And with Medicare, open enrollment has started in mid-October and runs through December 7th. And with the Biden administration, the marketplace open enrollment period got extended. It used to be November 1st through December 15th, but they are giving extra month until January 15th, 2022. But this actually does not mean that like you can wait until January to pick up the plan that starts on January 1st. We still have to decide and enroll by December 15th to have the new plan start by January 1st if we are looking into marketplace plans. And we get calls often from grandparents about what to do when their grandchildren are aging off of their parents' plan. And usually 25-year-olds automatically go into panic mode when they're approaching their birthday. And it's common that they never had any other insurance there in their lives and they don't even know where to start. And our team is here for that. So we put together a quick tip sheet here. So our biggest recommendation is starting early. So ideal time to contact us and really looking into new plan is at least 3 months prior to their birthday. I wish there are some consistent rules, but every company is different. So some insurance companies will cut them right off on their birthday, saying like, happy birthday, you no longer have insurance. Most plans I've seen will carry until end of the birth month. So if your birthday falls in the beginning of the month, you at least have the coverage till the end of that same month. So knowing the actual date of termination is very important because that date is what decides the period called special enrollment to pick up the new coverage. And this may not apply to everyone, but if they're considered as disabled dependent, there is no age limit of that 26-year-old dependent limit. So they can actually stay on their parents' insurance regardless of their age. That also has no consistent guidelines. So some companies will require actual Social Security disability and they need a proof for that. But some companies allow having CF diagnosis and having doctor's letter as a proof of disability. So there's guidelines greatly vary by the employer. So we recommend looking into the employer's guidelines early. And we can work through the options through their own employer if they're currently working. And aging of a parent's insurance will grant that special enrollment period for 60 days. And you can also look into marketplace plans or plans that are off exchange. That means directly through the insurance company that are not providing plans on the marketplace. And we are also familiar with exploring public options such as Medicare, Medicaid, or other state programs. Oops. And I love sharing this particular story. This particular individual actually called us because they were approaching 26th birthday. And we ended up helping this individual 6 times over the past 3 years. We got a call from panicking parents calling, my son is turning 26 and I don't know what to do. And he actually did not have an employer. He wasn't working at that time. So there was no employer option and he wanted to further his education and move out of state. And we ended up supporting him through his life journey. And he had 2 out-of-state moves, and one state was Medicaid expanded. So we helped him getting on Medicaid in that state while he's finishing his school. And the other state he moved to didn't offer Medicaid to adults who's not collecting Social Security. And we ended up looking into marketplace plans. So he could get new insurance and going to new CF Care Center and making sure everything is covered. And he ended up graduating and got a job and in another state. So we helped him evaluating his employer options, and he's now insured. And through this life journey of moving from one state to the other and another, and getting off a parent's plan, going to school, and getting own job, he actually never had any gap in insurance and all his therapies were covered. So I'm very proud to tell this story every time. And throughout the conversation and his journey, he learned a lot about insurance. So he calls himself like, I know everything, and calls himself his like insurance guru. So looking into what's being covered or prior authorization is needed, or what are the steps to change pharmacies. Like, he's now an expert. So we love to educate the callers to make sure they can take care of themselves as well. And I briefly mentioned about like when someone has more than one insurance is not always the best thing. Um, and a lot of times it turns out to be simple, like a claims mistake. And we had someone calling us in panic, and this person used to like have everything covered and with no copay, and all of a sudden they were receiving a big bill, and it turned out to be the secondary insurance, which was through the state Medicaid, didn't pay their portion because of a mistake that pharmacy made. So a lot of times coordination of benefits is a big issue when there's more than one insurance coverage in place. And even with the best insurance out there, I would say none of that covers everything at 100%. So affording CF care is definitely an issue that we all face, even with the great insurance plan in place. So we can look through every possible resources that individual can be eligible and be able to get help. And it could be costs for medications. A lot of vitamins and supplements are not covered usually through insurance, and the cost can add up. And medical devices like the nebulizers and vests can be very costly, even with insurance coverage. And a lot of times it's big percentage that you have to pay as co-insurance. And doctor's visits or hospital co-insurance or co-pays, and simply like monthly premium can be really hectic to keep up, because insurance costs are going up every year. And we see many plans on, especially on Marketplace, with high deductible and high out-of-pocket maximum, so that it has a lot of burden. It puts a lot of cost burden on the individual. And we look through, usually we based on either the specific medication or the procedure, and we look for all possible resources and connect them. We usually have all the step-by-step instructions ready on making sure that person is eligible, and also put together the steps to apply, like where to get the application, who to talk to, how to submit the application, and what to expect, and how to utilize that funds through the pharmacy. So not only finding the resource, giving them the phone number and be done, we always make sure that's a tailored resource for that person who's in need. And next area is legal issues, and especially during times of COVID, a lot of people were concerned about their rights at work, or how to ask for accommodations at school. And a lot of people lost insurance due to job change or job loss. And also people looked into applying for Social Security benefits. And it could be other like unrelated but legal concerns. And when they call us, we make referrals to outside source. I mean, our team is actually not a legal expert, but we have a partnership with CF Legal Information Hotline that's run by the law office of Suffian and Passamano. So they can provide information that is very helpful. And if it's other areas that the hotline is not experienced, then we will look for local resources through either the local bar associations or law help and connect them with the right resource. And my slide didn't. Okay, and just in general, life with CF can face many other challenges. Our team understands how expensive and time-consuming CF is, and it can be very overwhelming, especially for newly diagnosed families. So we have educational resources and information for newly diagnosed families. And lately, we're definitely focusing on how to improve their day-to-day life, facing issues related to social factors such as affording rent or mortgage. Some people are behind in utilities and they need help with. And food insecurity is definitely a hot topic with CF population, and we're looking for constantly researching for resources to help with that social factors area. And a lot of people are reconsidering going back to school, especially last year and this year. So we are getting increased number of scholarship requests, and either through the move or like normal like pediatric to adult transitions, we can help locating healthcare providers. Transportation was a big issue as well. A lot of people have hardships going to and from their appointments. And we also can connect people with transplant related resources. And I throw in a couple other examples. We helped someone who was moving out of state to get ready for lung transplant. Usually it's not like you can move like a couple days before the surgery. You have to be nearby and waiting for the organs to come in, and there's just no guarantee when you are able to, and so you have to be on standby all the time. And while away, there was no way to keep up with the bills in the home state, and concerned individual contacted us. So we connected the family with multiple organizations that helps financially with housing costs, paying utility bills, and sometimes they provide funds for food while they're away from home. And also there are organizations help them self-fundraise to reserve the fund and help them how to like promote fundraising, things like that. So being away from home itself can be very tough, but we were able to find multiple organizations that can help. And for scholarships, we keep track of CF specific scholarship resources, and always confirm their deadlines for submission. So the resources can be greatly varied based on the time of the call. So if it's within deadlines, we'll list out the CF specific scholarship opportunities. If not, we'll look into their area of interest. We had a particular individual who called us and they're looking to get an engineering degree, but all the CF scholarships were like deadline had passed. So we had to look through the schools, scholarship availability, and also any related field scholarships. And I think we were able to find 2 of them. And I would say last year and this year had been truly unique. And going into COVID, we had lots of unknowns and we weren't sure how busy we will be. But luckily, the whole team was fully functional remotely, and we ended up helping with all these complex topics. So from March 2020, in the beginning, it was a lot of requests about like locating the supplies like masks and face shield, and I think the sanitizing products were all sold out from the shelves. And a lot of people looked into getting accommodations from work and school. Telehealth was a hot topic, and Foundation was very vocal about making sure people with CF have access to their care remotely without risk of being near people and risk of COVID. And when school reopened, we got lots of calls about sending letters to the school and looking into their legal rights, and lately about questions on vaccines. And COVID was truly unique disaster, but we periodically see other people getting affected by natural disasters as well. So last year, the wildfires in California and Oregon was a big issue. There was a hurricane in Louisiana, and one of the man-made disaster in Tennessee bombing. We actually had individuals calling us looking for getting replacement of their medication that was lost, or finding place with power so they can plug in their nebulizer and do the vest treatments, as well as looking for housing repairs, things like that. And I would like to also quickly touch on other community support programs that CF Foundation offers, with Compass being one of them. And through the community partnerships, there's CF Peer Connect program. It's one-to-one peer mentoring program that they have list of mentors and certain topics that they specialize in, and then mentees get very thoughtfully and carefully connected with mentors so they can share their experience and really hear from someone who actually been through similar situation. It originally started with just people who went through transplant previously and speaking to people who's considering transplant, but now the topics are expanded, and it is open to many more. And we also have many virtual community conferences like BreedCon, FamilyCon, and ResearchCon. And FamilyCon is something new that we recently expanded to families, not just person with CF, and young adults are now included as well. And CFF Cares events are like a sort of casual get together and in-person and virtual events for social support from the community members. Here's more information about Peer Connect. I'll definitely make sure these slides are shared at the end of the meeting as well, so you can learn more details about it. And I don't want to miss on the community voice. It's basically Foundation wants your voice. So we would love to hear your thoughts. And there's nothing stronger than real stories from CF community. So if you want to be part of our strategic plan and make sure we are improving our services, we really want to hear from you. So I'll love to share information, and it can be an easy text. So if you want to get more information and alerts from when there's our related events, you can sign up for alerts for Community Voice as well. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure how old your grandchildren are, but it's Community Voice is one thing that's only open to adults over 18. And that's actually end of my presentation. So I'll hand it back to David.
Awesome. Thank you, Hajin. And if you'd like to stop sharing your screen for a moment, we actually have, as we were talking about this Compass presentation, I recall, and mentioning the CF Cares events was a great segue into this, because I actually met one of our volunteers, Jenny, at a previous CF Cares event where she shared her experience with Compass. So if Jenny is still on the line, I'd like you to unmute yourself, and if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about your personal connection and experience with CF, we'd really appreciate it.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny Palmer, and I am a spouse of someone with cystic fibrosis. My husband, Mike, was born, was 47 now, so quite a ways back. He was diagnosed at 2 months old, and about 5 years ago, he was still working full time, and he was actually working in the city. He would take the train down, and he was able to move to work from home. We thought that that would be better for him, so he could have more time at home, more time to do his therapies. And I think it went the opposite way. He ended up working more because he's home, and why not? So he would be upstairs working till all hours of the night. And it was about that time that we were kind of realizing that maybe, let me step back. He wasn't realizing that. I was realizing maybe it's time for him to retire. But obviously, he was kind of the breadwinner of the family, and we didn't really know how to do that, really. We spoke with the doctor. The doctor, pretty much agreed that it's probably time. And then, insurance-wise, what would we do, and how are we going to navigate this? It really felt overwhelming, and we didn't do anything for about 2 more years. We just continued on the same path, and more doctor visits, more encouragement, and I finally reached out to Compass, and I was put in touch with Beth Suff. I can't remember her name. Hold on. Beth Suffian. And they completely took the ball from me. They helped me navigate it. They step by step. I had to go to the doctor's office. The doctor sent everything to them. Within 6 months, he had the disability declaration from the state, which I found unbelievable, because I've heard story after story of people being denied 3 times for it taking 2 or 3 years to get the actual status of being disabled. So for us to go through this process and get it in a 6-month time frame, I thought was unbelievable. So I can't even tell you how amazing they were. It's a lot of paperwork, but really all I did was talk to the doctor's office, and the doctor, we did some of the paperwork, but they handled the bulk of it, and it was amazing. But fast forward into, by the time you get the disability, you have to wait 25 months to be able to qualify for Medicare. So he was fortunate enough that he had a disability, a long-term disability with his insurance, with his work. So that carried us through. But when he finally got the Medicare insurance, that actually came into another whole scary thing for us, because when you have a group insurance plan, when you have a commercial plan, your insurance, your medications, all of that, we had these copay assistance programs for all of these really expensive medications. We would have maybe a $5 copay or a $20 copay. When you come into the Medicare world, it's a little bit of a different story, because you are only really allowed about $7,000 total drug costs in 1 year. The copay assistance programs go away. You don't have access to those anymore because they don't work with the government. However, again, Compass came in and helped us find 2 different funds that were available to help us pay for the medications. If we were to rely completely just on the Medicare program, his medications are quite near $1 million a year in total drug cost. So if you look at the Medicare guidelines, after you reach that $7,000 allotment, which is one medication easily, we are responsible for 5% of the cost of his medicine for the rest of the year. So $1 million, the 5% would be $50,000 that we would have to come up with. So that was another, worry, major worry that would keep us up for nights wondering, how are we going to do this with this new insurance for him? And again, like I said, Compass kind of helped us find these 2 different programs that are helping him pay for his medication. So I know it's kind of a unique situation, because most people with CF are younger. They're either on their parents' plan, or maybe they are working for an employer or their spouse is working for an employer. A lot of folks don't have to deal with strictly the Medicare program like we do, because I'm self-employed. I don't have an employer plan. But I just wanted to share that as well, because it's been an absolute godsend to have this fund help us with the medications. So, and I didn't know about it until Compass told me. So yay, Compass.
Awesome. Thank you, Jenny, for sharing that experience. And I'm so glad that they were able to help you and your husband and your family, get the coverage you need and make life a little easier. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. There were a few questions that came in, and if anybody else has any questions from our presentation, feel free to enter them into the chat feature. But Hajin, there was a few questions. I think you touched on it, but can grandparents use the Compass program for their grandchildren? Can they call on behalf of their grandchild?
So there are certain consent processes that we have to follow on certain topics. So obviously when we need full insurance information and need a permission to call insurance on their behalf, we normally require consent that's signed by their legal guardian. But there are general topics that we don't need to share anybody's private information. Then from start to finish, we are able to talk to grandparents. Great.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And another question, I think you touched on some of this, obviously, between 2019 and 2020 cases, what was the breakdown or the types of cases? But obviously, I think you had touched on it, that there were a lot of COVID questions last year.
Oh, yes. So, I mean, definitely there was a jump on the legal areas, legal questions, because we were on the same boat too. We didn't know what to expect with COVID and what our rights were, and not not all of them were allowed to work from home at the same capacity either. So definitely there was a jump on legal related questions, and we used to get a lot of like CF therapy related financial assistance calls, but lately we get more of insurance related, whether it's whether they have insurance but something's not being covered correctly or not covered at all, or looking into other insurance options, because COVID also caused a lot of job losses, and a lot of people changed jobs, and that means their insurance most likely will change too.
Gotcha. Another question, interesting, that came in. It's does Compass help with getting insurance to cover IVF for couples that may have already had a child with CF? So not necessarily the parents have CF, but they were looking into having another child, and would Compass be able to help with insurance matters covering IVF?
So what we can do is a little bit limited on IVF. So usually most calls are looking for resources to afford the treatment costs. But we should be able to check if the current coverage or looking into new coverage, if that coverage covers IVF. But it's not like we have list of insurances that covers IVF handy so we can provide. But we are more than happy to verify some options for them.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I can imagine, one of the things I always tell all of our volunteers and our families that if you have any questions regarding anything with life with CF, while I would love to be helpful, I was like, go to the professionals, go to the people that know the answers and call Compass, because, they'll, they don't refuse any calls that I've noticed or have ever heard of. They're happy to take your calls, and each question is unique to your situation, so they can help walk you through that and find the best options to address your needs. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to our Compass partners with any question, no matter how big or small you might think it is. So that's always the best place to start. But I don't see any other questions coming in. So if there aren't, we're coming up on our 8 o'clock hour, and I know Hajin is on the East Coast, so thank you again for giving up your evening to share all this information and a great presentation on the benefits of Compass to our local community here and nationally. And thank you to Jenny for sharing your personal connection and personal experience with that. I think that was very impactful to hear how it definitely affects our local community. And I actually had one last question, Hajin. So all these services, I know, does the foundation pay for any of, other than Compass itself and running it, do they pay for any of the, resources or things when people have questions like the replacing the vest with, for due to the fire or to the bombing and stuff like that?
So currently we don't have direct funding available directly coming from the foundation, but we do support programs like getting applications through Social Security, through CF Legal Information Hotline. We call it a Social Security project, and we also funds the CF Legal Information Hotline so people can get information. So our team is actively researching 24/7 to find better resources in all kinds of different situations to connect people with.
Awesome. So just so you guys know, any of your support goes directly to our research and not necessarily to, finding or paying for these resources that help our communities across the country. So with that being said, I just want to give one more plug to our first in-person event of the season, which is next week. I believe, Hannah, do you want to say a word or two about our bourbon event?
Yeah, we're really excited to be back in person this year. It is at a new location. We're going to be outside at LaGrange, in LaGrange at Milk Money Brewing. So we're going to be in their parking lot outside. We have 9 different distilleries that'll be there: Four Roses, Journeyman, Whiskey Acres, and a few other ones pouring a ton
And our
of bourbon.
tickets still available?
Tickets are still available. They're actually, tonight's our last night selling them because we are almost at capacity. So
Fabulous.
we're limiting tickets this year just to make sure it's a safe environment, but I can pop the link into the chat. They will be available tonight and tomorrow morning, and you can always reach out to me because we might still have a few left. But we're really excited.
Yeah, considering we didn't get to host many in 2021, we're really looking forward to seeing our community back in person, and looking forward to 2022 when we can get together more safely in person at a myriad of the foundation events. So thank you all for joining us. I will be following up with an email sharing Hajin's presentation, so you will have access to the resources that she noted in her presentation. But with that, I'd like to thank you all and wish you a very good evening. And we hope you have a happy and safe holiday season coming up.
And thank you for having me today. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.